Greetings, music lovers, and all right, out of Unit 1, we're into Unit 2, and how about a little bit of Dave D, Dozy Beaky, Mick, and you know who, all right? You know, when I was a kid, hi everybody, Russ Kane here. Yeah, no Phil. No Phil, we had to get rid of him. He was too controversial, I'll be honest with you, just too controversial. He had to go. It's the week. Hello and good afternoon. I've got no jingles. Sorry. There we go. Good afternoon, Mr. Kane. That's very, very formal. Thank you very much indeed. Robert Van Buren. Hello, Russ. Hi, Robert. He probably doesn't speak like that at all, but it sounds like that Robert Van Buren said, "Hi, I'm Robert Van Buren of the Van Buren Oil Company. We're coming out of Texas and we want to have a meet." Sounds good. I mean, just my fantasy there. Hello, says Veronica Curran up there is in where? Well, patience, Van Buren. If only you'd done a rock band in the 60s and then you could have beaten Van Halen in the 70s. Just the way I think. Now, you've noticed at the moment, I'm solo. And I should tell you for why I'm solo. Well, last week, Phil and I did some television, and we did some television. It got very heated. Anyway, he got madly trolled. So he's not here today. That's not the reason why, by the way. He's just very, very, very busy. But instead of the diminutive and yet dapper, annoying and yet articulate Phil Dave, we have the one, the only Neil.
Greetings. I can be annoying too. Lovely to be on. Thank you for having me.
That'd be daft. It's absolute blooming pleasure. Thank you so much.
I know exactly who Robert Van Buren is. He's actually
I want to hear everything about him.
He's a horologist. He makes clocks for a living.
Joking me?
No, I'm not. Hi, RVB. And yes, I know him very well. I think with a name like that, he should be an international dance music DJ, but he insists he's not.
Do you know what? That would be fantastic. Like coming out of Sweden or something, then.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's the 12-inch remix of Baby It's Cold Outside.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you ready? I hate to ask, but thank you for joining us. I thought you were and we go from Robert Van Buren, who's going to talk like that now for the rest of the show.
He doesn't talk anything like that.
Does he go, "Hello, I'm Robert Van Buren"?
No, not even that.
Oh, hello, I'm Robert Van Buren.
I could show you one of his clocks. I've got it on my wall, but it's a bit inappropriate, and I'm not sure on a family radio station.
It's fine. We don't care. We absolutely don't care. What do we got? Ha, 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 ha. Let's go to New York State. I'm in the New York state of mind with Asa Don Brown. He doesn't talk like that either. And he's very, very high up in the psychoanalytical community over in America.
Oh, brilliant.
I had the pleasure of working with him on a committee. And charming man.
Fantastic.
Charming fellow. Now, how are you? Like, we all know who you are, so I can take your name off now, quite frankly. What's going on? What's happening? In the
I'm just
world?
happy to be here to contribute and discuss all things mental health because I love what you do. So I'm never going to have a problem turning up on your show. I'll come and keep turning up like a bad penny given half a chance.
It's not a bad penny. Veronica Curran says, "Phil has a devilish smile in the show, still to watch half of it." I don't understand. What does that mean? Is that Scottish? I don't understand what she's saying. I get the part of Phil has a devilish smile in the show, but I don't understand the second half. You're much more intelligent than I'll ever be. You know who's coming up at 12:10?
Oh, yeah, who?
Only.
Yes.
Neighbour of the Year. Voted UK's Neighbour of the Year.
How so? How is this accolade achieved?
I don't know. That is for you and I to delve in.
We shall.
And find out.
We shall.
That is for you to give it the longy look, the investigation that only you can do.
Mm.
Are you set up for the end of the week or not? I'm kind of nothing.
I've done fairly okay. I thought you were
going to say something completely different. I thought you were about to say I've done absolutely F.
Now, That is a set of decks set up because I stream parties as well, so I'll be doing a bit of that over Christmas. That's how I know Robert Van Buren.
Explain that. I don't know.
I do live streaming of virtual. All over lockdown, I was doing live streaming of virtual parties, and it's a bit of a long story. So I probably
I'm in no rush
now, but it did end up in Robert Van Buren making an inappropriate clock for me, which I will show you if you want.
Well, we got Paul Claridge, who's an amazing chap. I won't tell you his whole life story now. Let's see what Paul got to say. Good afternoon, everyone. That's only because he takes the piss out of us mercilessly. So he shall have that voice for this morning. Good afternoon, everyone. Phil on TV. What on earth were they thinking? Oh, well, no Phil, no great loss. We won't see the light glare. Oh, you are so rude.
Me.
God,
them fighting words.
Do you know what? You don't know who Paul Claridge is. I've known Paul for years, and he works by East Croydon Station. Right?
Oh, right.
And every week he either gets beaten up, saves somebody from killing themselves. I'm not joking. Has problems. There's Eastern European drug gangs that drive him absolutely mad. And do you know what he does for a living now? What he does for a living is this is the state of the world. And I want to see your expression because you don't know this and the rest of the gang do. He hands out free news. I've known Paul for years and he's a survivor. He had cancer really bad. I know he's not going to get cancer good, but he got it really bad and he survived. Right? He hands out free newspapers. That's what he does. And people spit on him, punch him, push him, abuse him. And you think, Neil, the guy's giving out a free newspaper. All you had to do is say thank you or no. What's the matter with people? What's that about?
I don't understand it, Russ. I never have.
It's extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's quite extraordinary. And I'm going to say something else, and it's not the newspaper itself. So I just want to cover that legally. Somebody had an accident, and Paul knows first aid and everything, and he went over to save them. And he saved their life. The paramedics got there. This was about a month ago. And he saved their life. They're lying on the ground. He gets told off by the company for wasting company time.
Oh, you're kidding me.
I'm not kidding you. This is the world we live in, Neil Long. This is the world we inhabit.
Insanity. That is insanity.
He actually saved this woman. He was a really good Samaritan. And they criticised him. They said,
"Well, they probably have something to say if he did nothing, and she died."
No, they wouldn't. I don't think they give a shit. I don't think they give a shit. And they said, "Well, we don't want any more excuses from you."
Excuses?
Promise you.
Good.
I promise you. We don't want any more excuses from you. What is that about?
Well, we can honour his good work here and shout
out. He's an amazing. Well done. He's an amazing. We do. He's an amazing fellow. I got to ask you because we know Phil's views. And if you're worrying where on earth Phil is, he's actually in his real big grown-up, huge job that he really does in real life. He's had to step in and do the big afternoon shows there. So that's what he's producing. So he's completely tied up.
Cool.
He's just abandoned us, really. That's showbiz, baby. That's showbiz.
They're gone tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't care. We're just the flotsam and jetsam in his trajectory towards stardom. That's what it is. How long have we known each other, you and I?
Oh, since 1995, it must have been.
Yeah, long
when I joined
time.
Capital, long time ago.
When you got that gig, right? How did you feel?
I was ecstatic and over the top. It all happened as a series of coincidences. I used to do. Do you want the quick backstory in 30 seconds?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
I haven't told you this. I used to do a gig. Have you heard of Rocky Taylor, the stunt man? He's Googled.
Yes, of course. Yes, I have.
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
He was in a scene of Death Wish 3 with Charles Bronson, the actor, not the most dangerous prisoner. And there's a scene in Death Wish 3 where Charles Bronson jumps off a burning building. It's not Charles Bronson, it's Rocky Taylor. But Rocky, it's all documented. He, I think smoke got in his eyes or something, and he missed the soft landing. Landed, smack on the tarmac. Obviously didn't do stunt work for a while. So we opened a bar called Rocky's in Cobham. I was just a mobile DJ then, and I cold called it. And Rocky's always had a bit of the showbiz about it. I mean, like, he likes the names in the industry. So we did some name nights down there. We got David Hamilton down there and a certain Mick Brown.
Never heard of him.
Mick Brown. Yeah, Mick who?
No.
I know.
No, never heard of him. Never heard of the running mare.
Oh, the running mare. That's another story. Yeah, oops, is there anything I can say about the running mare? That was absolutely epic, but that's another story. So I just jokingly said to Mick, can I make a demo tape? And then
mate.
Yeah, as you do, just for a laugh. I'm like, Mr. Scummy, nobody mobile.
Why did you say, stop? Why? This is you see, this is more to the point. Why did you think of yourself like that?
I don't. I'm just doing that English self-deprecating thing.
But why?
So
why do we do that?
I don't know. And it's a good thing
really
to talk about.
It's really telling. You know, if we were in a therapy session, your therapist at that point would say, "But Neil, why are you putting yourself down like that?"
Self-deprecation. I'm not very good at that. Well, hey. So I facetiously said to Mick, can I make a demo tape? And I'd left my phone in the car. My mate picked up and said, you idiot. It's one of those big chunky ones, not this.
Yeah.
He said, you idiot, you left it in the car with the window open. Nick, by the way, Mick Brown rang. And I went, yeah, who else rang? The Pope? Santa Claus? Jesus, maybe? Yeah. And I got home and my mum went, Mick Brown rang. I'm like, oh. And then I went and did a demo tape, met Alan Fluff Freeman for the first time.
Not half pop figures.
All right. Oh, he was lovely.
What a nice man. What a lovely man.
Wonderful. It was a privilege to meet. It was a privilege to work there. I mean, I was working
completely.
It was just, wow. So yes, terrified and amazed and amazing was the answer to that question. It felt incredible.
It's interesting, that sort of thing. That opens. So look at this. Now, Paul's come back. Our faces will disappear, but we shall read this. Revenge is a couple of weeks ago. A homeless guy's dog called Brody, who loves me, stepped between me and an abusive drunk. Brody is huge and looks fierce, but in reality is a big softy. They always say that before they rip your arm off, don't they? The drunk was last seen running down George Street, with Brody in hot pursuit, growling and barking at him. Needless to say, Brody got loads of hugs and bags of treats from me when he returned. Karma.
Karma is a beautiful thing.
Karma is a bitch when you're not expecting it.
Oh, yes.
It's a beautiful thing. And I wonder, I was having a conversation. I have to be careful because this will be an ongoing court case. All right, undoubtedly. So one has to be cautious, just adding that caveat. But someone was saying to me the other day about divine retribution, a phrase that you don't often hear.
No.
And I said, like what? And they said, Alec Baldwin, what happened is divine retribution on him.
And their logic for that is what?
The logic is, it's quite interesting. The logic is that he had pushed it so far and got away with his way of life and views and everything like that. And the gods just said, enough now. Boom. Which I feel terrible for the poor woman who's ended up dead. But it's a fascinating little microcosm, isn't it? I'd never thought about divine retribution. I mean, some people believe in it, other people say it's just.
I find it hard to believe in a universe that works on sort of getting people back. It seems like a sort of childish explanation of the universe for me personally. I don't buy that. I think it's a lot greater and grander than that. This kind of good and bad, and you do bad and you're going to get bad back. It's a bit kind of childlike way of looking at it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I go through life by thinking, and the only way I keep saying that it's a random lottery.
Okay. And
if you start to look for meaning, you will go mad. It's the gateway to madness. This is good. Would you like to read this out?
I will. I met Rocky a few times.
Special DJ manner.
All right. Paul Claridge. I met Rocky a few times. I keep going into Alan Freeman.
Oh, you can't help it, can you?
Yeah, I know.
It's inevitable.
Legend. What a fascinating bloke with fascinating stories from his life, both on screen and off. Absolutely, yeah. He's always got time for people that take the time to listen to him. And indeed, Rocky gave me my first break at Rocky's, because without that, I wouldn't have met Mick Brown. And without that, we wouldn't be having this conversation now. So I'll always be grateful to Rocky Taylor, who's still going great guns today.
Well, if people will look, a lot of people may have kids or grandkids watching who want to get into the industry, which I'd just say get a proper job. Would you have advice for them?
I would say go for it. I mean, it's all changed now. I mean, you can start wonderful things like you started here. The technology is there, and it's so much more accessible now for everybody. The problem is the market is absolutely saturated
Completely.
and the job opportunities are very slim because all the radio stations, all the big groups, the networking. So obviously they pay one DJ to do 30 shows across the country, which saves 29 sets of wages. So the jobs are as rare as hen's teeth, but you can still get in. The station I work for, it's a local radio station, just run by a local businessman, not corporately owned. And we have all sorts in there, people who are there in the old days when it was a pirate station, plus the new up and comers who go and cut their teeth there and go on to bigger and better things. Several have moved from news to Sky. Some people started doing traffic and travel, and they're now presenters there. So it is still possible if you've got the bug, or you could podcast, or you could live stream. There's many. At least technology is much more available now than it always was. It's leveled the playing field, but it's saturated the market.
It's an interesting thing when we were kicking off. This isn't a walk down memory lane. This is just throwing out a bit of free advice, if we may. To get to work for, say, Capital Radio back in the day was the pinnacle.
Yeah,
and you had to be the best of the best. And I'm not blowing smoke up Neil's backside or Pat Sharp's or Graham Dean's or anybody else. You had to be the best of the best. And if you weren't, you just wouldn't make the cut. And the money was huge. Let's not dance around it. It was amazing, and it was great. And then, of course, when things get taken over by what I call the bean counters, why bother to pay somebody a big salary? And I'm not talking about myself at all. I'd gone by this point. Why bother to pay somebody a big salary when you can get a kid who will do anything to get themselves on air? You pay them tuppence halfpenny. They drag down from God knows where, probably pay their own expenses. So the standard drops. And a lot of people say, why isn't radio kind of like it was? Well, times change, we change, our tastes change. But that is why you can employ someone for 25 quid, 30 quid a show, as opposed to thousands of pounds a show, and they'll thank you for it. They'll thank you for it.
Yeah, I mean, I would have pretty much done it for nothing. I was that kid, very, very much so. I wasn't on a fortune though. People thought I was a multi-millionaire, and that was never true.
No,
just a bust of myth.
Well, we heard your work. We heard your work, Neil. That was never going to be the case. Let's be
honest. Dear boy, at this stage.
Listen to the last link, Neil. Interesting way to hand in your resignation.
You notice. You'll take me to the dark place. Paul says another routine is the community radio station. Yes, it's voluntary, but it's a great way to learn the job when you want a career in the industry. Yes, I know many people that work for community radios. We've got some nice ones around here. A friend of mine, Jeff Rogers, runs one in Red Hill, and a lot of my friends and colleagues do some stuff there. Yeah, there's a lot of talented people. There's in every walk of life, I'm sure, that don't get the
there is.
they deserve.
And the other thing is that which I've always much preferred radio to television. I've never really enjoyed television. I've done bits of it here and there over many years, but I always find it takes so long, and it's like a whole day, and you're hanging about. And radio is instant, and that's what I love about it. And I find it's much warmer,
much more personal.
But the thing about radio is it's really a one-to-one. You're talking to one person. Even though on the breakfast show we had 4 million listeners, you're talking to one person. And what seems to have gone out of life is that connection, which is what we've tried to recreate, I think, with men's radio and with women's radio. Obviously, it's on a different basis. We look at mental health and well-being, and because it's in such demand, and it was always going to be in such demand, and we wanted to fill a gap that was necessary. But here, all your comments come up from all over the world. All over the world, your comments come up. I don't censor them. We don't have producers saying, I'm not going to let this person speak. They sound stupid, or I don't like their view. Your comments are here. So it's 100% interactive. And I felt very strongly because it's about a community. That when they got rid of local radio stations, they were ripping the heart out of various communities. And I really did that. You know, if I was an accountant, as you've said, Neil, it makes perfect sense. Why should I pay 30 presenters where I can have one bloke sitting in Leicester Square in London, pay him a meager salary, boom, my bottom line improves immensely. But the person sitting in, let's just say Leicester Square in London, does not know that village down in Suffolk, doesn't know the high street.
And it's
in
made it very
Scotland.
generic. I mean, I remember before I even got into radio, when someone mentioned New Malden, which is where I live in South West London, on a traffic report, I would immediately go, "Oh, wow, New Malden!" It's that relatability, and particularly with the mental health angle, because over lockdown, I was broadcasting virtual parties every night. I found a way to do it legally, but that was almost an exercise in mental health because people were terrified, and just to be able to connect and have a party, have fun.
Well, let's stop you. People were terrified. Expand on that. By the way, when the stars speak, they speak to us. This is Elizabeth Green.
Hello, Elizabeth.
Philip's sister.
All right. Hello.
Who's over from New York at the moment. She lives in New York City, and we'd never met. She started to watch the show and everything, and we met for the first time a couple of weeks back. It was very nice to meet someone that I don't normally do that, but she'd come all the way from New York City to see family and friends. Not Philip, I should say, not Philip, and. I can't tell any of the stories, but I was crying with laughter. Absolutely crying with laughter.
Brilliant.
Oh, silly. My cousin, I used to go around to my cousin Glenn, and the now Sir Philip Green, it was just Philip Green, used to play poker in my Auntie Sylvia's kitchen. They were all about 15, and I think I was about 13 or 12 or something. Yeah, brilliant. I know. And as Elizabeth Green says, of all the people she's seen in London, not Philip. No, didn't think so. Anyway, there we are. Moving on.
Meeting Russ was better. There we go.
Well,
it's the fandom. It's the fandom.
No, I've never been interested. Has that? Let's just got to Edinburgh quickly. Local radio shows need a through the night. Yes, Neil, would you read this for me?
Yeah, local radio shows need a through the night for homeless, giving details of services. Shocked local homeless guy with addiction didn't know about help out there. Well, there is categorically help out there if you know where to look, and that's the beauty of radio that will serve people in that situation, because there are places, and it's up to us to be the conduit to communicate it.
They call it signposting. This is the new thing, and it's so important. I think what happens when you're in crisis, you're so overwhelmed by that crisis. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. I mean, the internet is huge and frightening if you don't know what you're looking for. Yes,
absolutely.
And people who do signposting, which my partner is now doing, it's extraordinary. So you listen to the story, and you're not offering therapeutic advice. You're just listening to the situation. You're saying, right, Fred or Helen or whatever it is, this is where you need to start looking.
Yeah.
And then you're helping that person. And
that is the privilege of being able to do this job, because you can't help but expand your network and know people who know people who know people. You just can't help doing that when you do a job of any kind like this.
The help is out there. And so often here on MRS, we have guests on and they tell us their story and what they're doing. And it's like, what the hell? I never knew about that.
I know.
Here's interesting. I'd do this. I wouldn't normally, but it's Paul Claridge. Big shout out to Jason Rossum, or as I call him, the Quiff. I only ever call him the Quiff because he has this Tintin quiff. Do you know Jason?
I've heard of Riverside Radio.
Yeah, Riverside Radio. Community station. Excellent training scheme for presenters, and the tech side, the whole session for the kids too.
Yeah, brilliant.
There you go.
So you asked me why people were scared.
Yes, I did.
It was basically because of the pandemic, and there was that wave of uncertainty in the air. Completely without wanting to sound like a politician, unprecedented. And I was just literally bored at home, and I thought, right, stuff this. I'll just set up some decks and start broadcasting. And that happened, and it built almost like a little community of people. That's how I know Robert Van Buren, RVB, the LDF, Lockdown Family, who would just meet every night and get together. And I mean, can you imagine the pandemic in the 80s without this technology that could connect us? Can you imagine that? Technology and social media came into its own. It was an absolute godsend in my opinion.
Well, that, I wonder what the gang think about this. On the one hand, we were able to kind of keep in touch digitally. On the other hand, Neil, back then we wouldn't have had every raving lunatic with every crank idea just having access to the world, you know, like flat earthers. And this is a really serious point, you know. I
Have you seen the
worry.
Netflix thing about the flat earthers?
I've seen so many documentaries about it. They are just
It's
nuts. I'm sorry, they're
the
nuts.
punchline. I won't do a spoiler, but the punchline of the one on Netflix when they do the experiment to categorically prove the Earth is flat,
Hmm.
and I won't spoil it for you, but it's a beautiful ending. You would love it.
So, Robert Van Buren doesn't talk like that apparently, but he does in my head. That's us, the LDF, the Lockdown Family. Is that what it stands for? The Lockdown Family. Is that it?
LDF, yeah, Lockdown Family, Lockdown Family.
Let's dash up to Edinburgh again. Veronica Curran, in her own way, she's got so much going on in her life, Neil. She's a regular listener. She always listens in on a Thursday at 6 o'clock to the ABC of CBD, which is an award-nominated show all about cannabinoids and stuff like that.
Oh
And
yeah,
and she just gets on with her life, never complains. Steps to Hope did a meal. Oh, you read it out. It's so lovely to have you. I just like hearing your voice. It's better than
Thank
me.
you.
Come on.
Steps to Hope did a meal for 120 homeless and gave out all newly bought jackets, jumpers, basically a whole outfit. Guy did a sleep out for awareness. One guy he sent from Liverpool up to Edinburgh, now 32 days clean. Brilliant.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Terence and I did a slept out to raise awareness for Centrepoint back in the day.
Oh, did you?
And it was life changing, and it was terrifying.
Yeah, I bet.
And it made me. It completely recalibrated how I see people on the street. It was bloody scary and freezing. We did it in Covent Garden. Chris said, "Do you want to do it?" I said, "Yeah, I'm up for it." Now I knew it would be cold, right? And I knew we'd be on the cobbles of Covent Garden. Well, I knew being Covent Garden. I didn't realize it was the cobbles. And what you don't think about, Neil, is once the cold sets in, those cobblestones are freezing and they don't heat up. So I thought, right, I'm taking sleeping bags. I'm taking cardboard so I can use that as a sort of insulating layer between me and the stone. Several things. One, it was scary as hell because we had security. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. It wasn't just me and Chris, obviously. There was security there. 3 a.m, 4 a.m, people started rousting, and it was, thank heaven, security was there. 2, it was perishingly cold, and I was prepared for it, and I hadn't realized how cold it was going to be. And when you started talking to the other people who were homeless, not people like us trying to do a little bit for society, you realize everyone had a story. And they weren't all drug addicts, and they weren't all alcoholics. It was nothing like that. Some people had just slipped through the net.
A lot of military people as well.
Oh, it was bloody tragic. So, right, this is a huge thing from Ramsey. Ramsey, my massage. Yeah, I know. Are you still there now?
No, I'm there.
There you are. Afternoon all. Just wanted to mention that I wasted a good part of the weekend on the wormhole that is Willie Walker's TV on YouTube. He basically films himself walking and driving around London, mainly Croydon. Paul Claridge. It's weirdly addictive. I haven't been able to Central Croydon for many years. You're missing very little, Ramsey. And this was an eye-opener. I've been keeping an eye open for Paul Claridge on East Croydon Station as it appears in so many episodes.
He's becoming a bit of a local celeb.
He's such a nice man, and his heart's in the right place. And I just am stunned that people can be just so brutal. Now, I was going to have another guest. I phoned up because you were talking with such passion and heartfeltness. If that's such a word. If not, I've just made it up. About when someone in your family gets dementia, and I tried to get Hillary O'Neill, and I phoned Hills this morning to see if she wanted to come on the show. And Hillary is just, hello. I said, what's the matter? Oh, I'm not well. Oh, it's not COVID, but she sounded terrible. So Hillary O'Neill, get well soon. What do we got here? Russ, the guy Ritchie. You're saying, is there a guy called Ritchie, or do you mean Guy Ritchie? It did Edinburgh, Glasgow, London, Liverpool, Aberdeen, then Dundee. It was phenomenal. They're heartwarming. So, Veronica, just be clear. Do you mean there's a bloke called Ritchie, or is it Guy Ritchie, the filmmaker? Oh, look at this.
Oh,
Yoshi.
now let me introduce this lady to you, Russ. This
I'm not
is
even going to try and explain this name. Wow.
Nurse Yoshi. She is one of our NHS heroes. She's done all my jabs. She's even done that sucky thing in my ear. Anyone that swinges my ear is
your love life is not our concern.
Yes, I'm sorry. Late night show for that only.
Yeah, please,
Nurse Yoshi, everybody. She is an incredible, incredible woman. Not only was she, obviously you can tell from her name, she's not English. She not only through the pandemic was one of the frontline heroes, but she was also putting together things and looking after her people back home online at the same time as being a frontline hero. So wow.
They are amazing, and they get such a bloody pasting, don't they? Everyone bitching and moaning about the NHS. It's not them.
No.
It's not. And this is something that I'm glad you like that, Rob. This is something that really drives me nuts. You know, when everybody goes on it, the nurses are fantastic. And I'm not just saying that to try and look like a tree hugging, whatever. They are amazing. They're just so kind. Everyone that I've ever met in the NHS has been beautiful. They've been absolutely great. It's not them doing that. It's not the doctors doing that. It's all middle management and the people running around with clipboards looking busy, and calculators. And it's those people that need to be looked at. I don't understand this. I got a question for you, Neil Long. Everyone's saying, please be careful because this new Omnicron, which sounds like a Marvel film to me.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
Like Iron Man. Who's there? It's Omnicron. Anyway, there we are. They're going to run out of letters soon. God knows what they're doing next. Call it Doris or something. They're written Doris. That'll be it.
Yes.
So everyone's saying, you've got to take the test. So you go, fair enough. Okay. I'm an adult. I'll go and test. Can you get hold of a testing kit now? No. Why does this happen? Why are we're like bloody Paraguay or somewhere? Seriously, I don't understand it. They know this is coming, right? They want us to be careful. We're saying, okay, we'll be compliant. We'll be careful. You can't get a testing kit anywhere. Anywhere at all.
I did get lucky on Saturday. I found somewhere that had some, but they were running out fairly fast.
Well, we found Boots. I'm not knocking Boots. It's not their fault. They can only get what they can get. They're not stupid. And nothing at all. So who does the planning for this? Sooty and Sweep. Seriously, who the bloody hell does? I don't understand this. If you and I can say, right, we're going to need loads of testing kits, do they not think, right, let's get testing kits, for God's sake?
I have no answer. I wish I had a profound answer.
But the demand on people like you and I is to have answers. And I always say, well, if I knew, I would tell. But I just don't understand it. I find it extraordinary. Here's something from your pal, RVB. I think his 1984 album was the best one.
I think
do you think
he was in the mix doing his badass thing? I've got to show you the clock he made me. I have to show you.
Go on, go and get the clock. Go and get the clock. Do you think we'll be in another lockdown? You know what? Yeah, I do. Not until the new year. And in the new year, look, we get.
I did warn you.
No, don't take it away. Everyone's going, I know my gang. They're all getting their glasses and going, what the hell? That's hilarious. I love it. So the sheep.
It's a bit of a long story. I can explain if you want me to.
Of course I want you to. Yes, I want you to.
Okay, very briefly on the radio station I work at, Radio Jackie. My radio wife, called such because we've worked together for about 20 years.
Have you? God, have you really?
Yeah, we think we're the longest running male-female duo. Nikki Patrick, a fantastic broadcaster, a friend and person to work with. But she made a disparaging remark on air one morning about my love life and said I might need something inflatable with a puncture repair kit. A listener thought that was funny and sent one in. I then put it in my cupboard and forgot about it because, contrary to popular belief, I don't use those. And then lockdown came, and then I was doing the virtual parties, so I put Helga on full view, on camera. If you go to Facebook and type in Helga D' Blur, you'll see I'm in a relationship with her. Through lockdown, I then ended up with a family of 7 of them because people were leaving them on my doorstep when they were out for their daily walks. So had the police bust in any night thinking there was an illegal party, all they would have found was a lone DJ with streaming software and 8 blow-up dolls. And one of them
nothing for the tabloids to get their teeth into there.
Oh, do you know, I tried. I wanted to, but no one would take a bite. And I was offering it on a plate for them. And one of the things left was an inflatable sheep. That explains the sheep. And then our horologist, RVB, made me a clock. Thank you, Rob.
That's really... What kind of clocks does he make? I love clocks. Clocks and watches are my thing. I absolutely, joking aside, I absolutely love them.
Have a chat. I don't know if he can. I don't know if he can put his website. I don't know. Is that allowable? I don't know. Can we?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, stick your website up, Rob. RVB.
Robert,
no, he's a professional. That was a fun thing he made for me. But it's all. I imagined him like, you know, with the big.
Yeah, the loop as they call it. The loop as they call it. Right, big one coming up from Paul.
Okay.
You can read this.
Sure. The homeless guys and girls around East Croydon have become friends of mine over the years. They look after me if the police can't get there quickly. And in turn, I help them when I can. I've arranged medical appointments and called on favours from my friend Michelle, who runs the homelessness charity Dogs on the Street. So she has expertise to deal with more complex issues. Today, I'm giving my friend Louise, who sleeps rough, a sleeping bag, which I no longer need. Last week, I had...
No idea, and we'll never know.
We'll never know.
I can't read anymore. Sorry, Paul, that's all I got.
Paul, you sound like an angel. You're the kind of people they make films about. The understated angel.
He's an amazing... You know, the thing about life is that you can't control the hand that you're dealt, but how you play that hand is up to you. And life can throw you an absolute shit sandwich, or it can throw you a bunch of roses. It's you know, you don't know. It's random lottery. And Paul has had a very hard life. Really, you know, he was very close to dying. He's lost half. He was quite a large fellow, I'm being polite, and now he's as slim as anything. And he's and he's not bitter. And instead of that, he just puts his life into helping. He's been a guest on the show a couple of times. Anyway, here's Robert Van Buren. This is his clocks. I don't mind. He sounds like a fun guy. So www.uniqueclocks.london. There we are. I don't normally do that, but as it's you.
Thank you.
What do we got? Veronica Curran says, for Paul Claridge, ask the veterans to check out a Scottish guy, Paul Boggy.
I know him.
Yes.
I know that name.
We know him, don't we? You and I both know him from...
I know that name.
Yes, Paul Boggy. He's written a book and is donating all proceeds to those homeless veterans, and that's his main goal, to help them. I always find it pathetic and unjust that people sign up for the armed forces, boys and girls, men and women, and they go out and fight for the country, prepared to pay the ultimate price if they do. That's part of the package, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they come back, and instead of being looked after, it's just like, well, thanks a lot, bye.
And probably traumatized with PTSD.
Yeah, because they see things, Neil, that you and I can't even imagine. You know, we watch Hollywood movies, even when they do the stuff from, you know, they do films about Afghanistan or Syria or whatever it is, and you're sitting in the comfort of your home watching this stuff, and you think, oh, that's a bit rough, but it's nothing like the real thing. I mean, horrific.
I think there's reason for hope, though, because there's some much better treatments developed for trauma now, some psychosensory treatments. I think Paul McKenna's written about it. One of his books is a treatment called havening, which seems to work.
Neil, how come Paul McKenna, who we worked with for years, is a multi-millionaire. What happened to us? Why didn't we think of this? Why are we so thick?
Never too late.
Do you remember? Were you at? I'm sorry to digress, and we're going to get back to
Not at
some
all.
of the treatments for post-traumatic stress disorder. But we used to have at Capital when we worked there the Christmas lunches, and then they became the Christmas dinners for the presenters like Neil and myself, and our producers, and sometimes the sales team. They were riotous. That's all I can say legally. I think let's just say they were riotous. And then one day, McKenna, who we all work with, and just one of our mates, and they said, "Oh, go on, hypnotize everybody." So we were all, were you there then?
No.
We were all there. I'm next to Tarrant, and then there's Osboy as well, who was the head of technical stuff and everything. And McKenna starts his stuff. Chris and I get the giggles, and I'm being honest. I'm not trying to be clever here. I wanted it to work. I wanted to experience it. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Chris and I, nothing. Other people around us, out for the count.
Yes.
Completely gone. It was extraordinary watching him.
I don't think I'm hypnotizable. I went to his stage show and I actually went up on stage, but I don't think I was hypnotized. But other people, like you say, some people are more open, they're more suggestible. I think that's the word. And
it was amazing. I thought they're faking it. They absolutely were not faking it, because they were all friends and colleagues. It wasn't some Herbert in an audience, wanted their moment of fame. This was, we all knew each other really, really well.
It is intriguing. It is fascinating. I mean, it's a massive, massive field. I mean, I know some hypnotherapists. I just think I'm a bit too cerebral. I can't kind of let go because I like to watch what's going on.
Yeah,
if you know what I mean. And that's the thing. That's to get that conscious mind out the way to tap the subconscious.
I've tried to be hypnotized in the past, and again, absolutely not. Absolutely nothing. And also, I didn't. I wouldn't have minded if it had made me feel relaxed. But all I could think was, "There's nothing happening. There's nothing happening. There's nothing happening. I'm getting wound up now. I'm getting wound up. There's nothing happening. Why isn't it happening? What's wrong with me?" That was it. That was it. Back to Paul. Then we're going to go on your your treatments for.
I'll happily tell you about it.
Paul, last week I handed out hats, scarves, and a few jumpers, all of which I dug out of my cupboards, as I know not going to have need of them. No, because they'd be like Billy Smart's tent on you these days. If everyone could do the same, either give them to a homeless person or donate them to a charity, that would go a long way to help. Absolutely so. Agreed. Well done, you.
Paul, you really restore my faith in human nature.
Wow, look at this one. Yeah, Paul, he's an exemplary fellow. There's nothing. I'm trying to find the right word. Holy about. I mean, it's not. It's just the bloke. You don't feel you're in the presence of a saint. Just a guy.
Yeah, but they're the best kind. Yeah, so ordinary, really, but extraordinary as well. I met a prison officer like that once. I must, if you let me, I'll share that story one time.
Yeah.
He was the most extraordinary man. They should have made movies about him. Bob, he was amazing.
It's more important to make movies about people wearing lycra, and it's all magic. He was an addict, then joined the army, had a horrific car accident, and then had to leave the army. He's a brilliant young man, been in prison with an audiobook done by Guys, and also do the Fringe Festival 2022. That's excellent. And Martin Allen, who's had his own fair share of issues, and we love him when he comes back. Hey, everybody can be hypnotized. You just have to let go. No, Martin, Neil and I tried. We weren't trying to be clever.
But here's the thing. If you're trying to let go, it's a yielding thing. Yes. It's all like university stuff, isn't it? It's allow it. But any kind of resistance, any kind of pushing against, any kind of what's going on, that still implies efforting. And if you're pushing and efforting, you're not relaxing and yielding, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. You see, now what Martin's saying. Martin has been on the show, I think.
I believe you, Martin. I do believe you.
But this is the bit that is tripping me up here. We experience it twice a day, every morning and night.
Do you have self-hypnosis CDs?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
You've probably got self-hypnosis CDs or something. It's
not
a million miles away.
Does he mean he's going to sleep, or does he mean? Do you mean, Martin? that you're going to sleep, and therefore that's kind of like a hypnosis?
I would imagine, and I could be wrong here, Martin. Feel free to correct me, but you probably got self-hypnosis CDs that not a million miles away from guided meditations. It's a similar sort of thing, isn't it? That too is a yielding thing.
Now, as you're my special co-host, this is a great one from Paul Claridge. It says, Russ Kane, and the same you could say Russ Kane and Neil Long. Did you ever actually work at Capitol, or was it all just one big 20-year-long fun fest?
Both.
Both, actually, both. The way that I describe it, and I think you can tell from Neil's demeanor, I think he'd agree. I took what I did very seriously. I never, ever took myself seriously, and I still don't. I take what I do very seriously.
Beautifully stated.
I'm not interested, you know. P.S. My mate Jason, was he wearing the hockey mask? We never know. Was a tech guy at Capitol under guise of Vic Parnell. He used to phone up Robert Elms. Could you finish reading that?
Robert Elms, I know who he works for as well, at a rival station and demand that he played Eye of the Tiger. Very good. Very good.
Right, Martin's come back and explained what he meant just before you fall asleep and just as you wake up.
Well, that's the best time to do it because I think we make more alpha waves, don't we? When the melatonin kicks in for the night and we start going a bit more alpha, a bit more rather than the fast beta waves. It's those slower alpha waves, which is conducive to hypnosis, I think, or meditation.
See, I dread going to bed at night. Dread it.
Do you?
Yeah, dread it. Because I know it's going to be tricky for me, and I dream every night, and I hate it. I wake up every night. I dream, and then
you don't like dreaming. I like dreaming.
No, they're never good. They're never good dreams. They're not nightmares. You know, not being chased through a forest by vampires, which is weird considering my books. But they're just disturbing, and my parents are always there and never in a good way. Hey, Fright, what do you make of that? I hate it. I wake up exhausted.
Oh dear.
Never enjoyed it. Right. The way that we're looking after our servicemen and women, you were saying, is better now.
I was just talking about I read quite a lot of personal development books. I'm a big fan of McKenna. I've done the NLP course, so I've got Neuro-linguistic programming.
Come on, I was trying to guess it. No, come on.
Oh, sorry.
I was trying to see if I can stretch what's left of my brain to remember what it's supposed to be. I knew it was linguistic programming, but I couldn't remember the end. I thought it was neurological.
Yeah, neuro. It's got a great history. It comes from America. It was a linguist and a mathematician, one of which uses words like epistemology when you read his books after about the fourth word. And you're like, whoa. And the other guy was a bad boy genius with a ponytail that had a real kind of interesting life, shall we say. But they were getting results with people, and the things they were doing, this is the bad guy, going into psychiatric hospitals, never be allowed. But he was curing them in very controversial ways, but he was curing them when the rest of the scientific community or psychological community were arguing about all the ways to do it, but no one could do it. But he did, because he approached it in a different way rather than saying, why are they that way? Well, big deal. You might have 20 years therapy and know why you are the way you are. You're still the way you are. Big deal. He went, how? What are they doing inside their head, and what can they do differently to get a different result?
Oh, that is interesting.
Oh, NLP is fascinating, and it's fast as well, because if you change something, it doesn't matter, like a computer. If the virus has been there 20 minutes or 20 years, it doesn't matter. Remove the virus and the computer will work differently. That's about the best metaphor I can give. But it's all gone very advanced now. And McKenna talks about, there's a doctor called Ronald Rudin, who is a traditional medical doctor, but he also is open to the alternative side of things. And this might sound fanciful, but Google it if you don't believe me. And it's called havening, as in safe haven. And what you do, you stroke the side of your arms, which mimics the way a mother would comfort a child. That creates delta waves in the brain, and it delinks the traumatic memory from the experience. So in other words, rather than if you heard a car backfire and you got PTSD, it wouldn't trigger those awful feelings.
That it was gunfire, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. So, at the moment, it comes from the unconscious mind, which works in the present moment. So, and the mind works by association. So and sometimes very loose association. So you hear a a car backfire,
Yep.
and those awful feelings of being on the battlefield will come back again
I
and
bet.
again and again and again. I mean, that's PTSD and it's hideous. But the effect would be that you could hear the car backfire, but it wouldn't have that same feeling anymore. So you think about the experience, but in a painless way. It's fascinating. It changes the brain.
I was doing business with somebody, oh God, 20 plus years ago, and he was heavily into NLP and wrote books. And we were having a meeting, and I was saying, well, I don't understand how it works. And we're just talking like this, and he suddenly said, sit up straight. And I sat up. And he said, why did you do that? I said, what? He said, we're kind of partners on this project. Why did you suddenly react like that? Why would you? Why don't you tell me to get lost? And I thought, oh, I get it. It was so interesting. Then in the middle of a casual sentence, he just did it. And my instinct was, boom, sit up straight. Why would I do that?
Because you were in a relaxed state, you were in rapport with him, therefore you were open to suggestion that I would suggest.
But also, it's the knee-jerk reaction. Somebody speaks to you in that tone, and suddenly you become, the schoolboy you, or the schoolgirl you, or the much younger you, or
yes,
the
indeed,
subservient
it triggers things. The art is using triggers deliberately for a positive purpose, rather than just when they happen to you randomly. It's doing the process deliberately. So deliberately triggering things that you want triggered, rather than sort of things just randomly happen and you get triggered. If you see what I mean.
And how's it helped you?
It expands your mind. It really does expand your mind. It's like the instruction manual for your mind, which we were never given. And I find that fascinating. I find all things mental health, as you know, psychology, but it's not dry. It's not like dull men in white coats. It's not like Freudian analysis. It's real practical, fast working stuff. I mean, they've done some incredible things with it, and people have misused it as well. It's got a bit of a bad name.
Well, I always worry it's a bit, I'm not saying it is, but I always worry with these things. What is the main desire of so many of these authors? Well, it's to make a buck. It's to make a buck. They're not there for the good of their health. They're there to become incredibly rich. Here's probably the most successful of these Tony Robbins. Who started off looking a bit dorky and suddenly he looks like a film star now.
Yeah.
Right. And I hugely successful.
He was in Shallow Hal.
No. Oh, yes, he was.
Yes, remember?
I remember. Yes.
Playing himself, playing the guru.
Playing himself. I remember that. I've forgotten that completely. Shallow Hal, very funny film. Clever too. But I somebody said, you've got to read his book years and years and years ago, back in the 90s, I think. Kind of dragged me into a bookstore, and I read it. I got nothing out of it. Nothing. Couldn't real. There was nothing I want. And the annoying thing is, Neil Long, I wanted to sit there going, this is no. I just read it. I thought, no, I'm just not feeling. So Elizabeth Green, in London, not in New York for once, did a Tony Robbins course, and oh my God, she's in Las Vegas. Hang on, she's not in London. She's in Las Vegas.
Oh, wow.
So you've left. You're in What the hell are you doing in Las Vegas? Are you headlining? Are you doing your share tribute act? I mean, she's in Las Vegas. How interesting. Right. Big news just breaking. Newsflash, the makers of Hobnobs have... Oh, please, God, it's BBC Norwich suddenly. The makers of Hobnobs...
Right.
Oh, sorry, she is in London. No, the course was in Las Vegas. Well, you've got to make yourself clear, woman.
Yeah, it's the ultimate power.
I'm a simple soul. Newsflash, the makers of Hobnobs have warned that the price of biscuits is set to soar. I don't eat biscuits. So Hobnobs, Penguins, Jaffa Cake, you can see a sales index price of 5%, but fret, no chocolate digest. What? Oh, no price won't increase the price. So
I thought this was a setup for a bad joke. No,
Paul. That's incredibly dull. I'm not interested. Don't care. There we are. You spoiled it. Now you were doing well. You were becoming like the humanitarian of the year, and frankly, you've delved into business.
Yeah, you let yourself down there, man. Sorry.
It's all down to you, man.
You bring biscuits
into going so well.
It was.
Well, interesting. Wait, no, not doing that.
Take me to the dark place, Russ Kane.
Yes, can you imagine if he suddenly said, Neil, I am your father? That would be just... Neil's face, if you're listening on Deluxe Radio, Neil's
I'm all right.
face
I'm
has just
okay.
gone ashen. He's just gone absolutely ashen. It's like a wake-up call, of course. We're talking about Tony Robbins. So Elizabeth Green did this course in Las Vegas. I've now got the plot. She did a Tony Robbins course in Las Vegas. It's like a wake-up call. He's very clever what he does, because he plays music while you're waiting to mimic your heartbeat. And as it gets nearer and nearer, it's all on a sort of subtextual level. So you're not aware of it.
I learned something about this the other day.
Oh, go on.
Right. Reading a book at the moment. It's got a really weird title, so I won't tell you because it'll make me sound really weird. But okay. But he talks about, I suppose, getting high legally. Yeah. He talks about the DJs that get people into that sort of rapturous state.
Yeah.
Right? And they've studied the superstar DJs.
Mick Brown at the Running Mare.
Even more famous than me and Mick Brown.
No.
Believe it or not, they do. Yeah, I know.
Pat Sharp in Ibiza?
No. I'm talking about the real mixing DJs, not radio personalities. You know, the Aviciis of this world and that sort of thing. And that was a terrible loss.
What a shocker that was.
Yeah, what a talented guy. But anyway, 128 BPM, 128. That's the sweet spot. That's when DJs stop being DJs and they become acoustic chemists. Don't you just love that? And people are literally high on their own brain chemistry, all your dopamines and your norepinephrines and your serotonins. And when you're in that flow state, you get all six at once, and it's bliss. I've experienced flow states a couple of times. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's legal ecstasy. It's incredible.
What's it feel like? Paul Claridge, I'm coming to you.
Ecstasy.
You're dead to me.
It feels like bliss. It feels like everything you need is there. The next step, the next step, the next step. It's just there. Everything.
And how did you did what? You did this through going to see a DJ?
No, I did. I was doing. It was in the lockdown parties. I was playing Prodigy, and I suddenly went into a flow state.
Did you?
Like, yeah, I've read books on it as well. It feels
not a lateral flow. State.
Not a lateral flow state. No, an absolute proper flow. It's ecstasy. It would be heaven on earth if everyone was in that state all the time. That I can guarantee. It's amazing.
You know, sometimes people that you admire, that you say good things about, just turn out to show their true selves. Russ Kane, all I can say about you today is thank goodness Neil Long is here to add some broadcasting expertise and experience to the show. Such a breath of fresh air.
He's just bitter about the biscuits. That's all it is.
He's a sad. I never liked him. A sad, twisted,
neither did I.
Bitter man. bitter at life. As if handing out free papers at East Croydon Station is not the pinnacle of everything that he wanted his life to turn out to be.
What about the most popular Tolerant Neighbour?
Well, do you know what? Didn't turn up. What kind of neighbour is that? No, we were supposed to have. Thanks for mentioning it, Neil. I was trying to avoid it. But well done. Interesting way. I find you have embarrassed me now. But nonetheless, I'm sure Neil Fox will be happily sitting in your show while you take a sabbatical. Here's the thing. I was offered Britain. This lady, a grandmother, was voted Britain's best neighbour in the UK, the best neighbour in the UK. And I was really keen to get her on the show. And I said, oh, absolutely. So I was having emails this morning. Yeah, come on, 12:10. Nothing.
Oh.
Nothing. Did not turn up.
Oh God.
So there we are. That's what happened. I don't know. I'll probably get emails saying she was too busy handing out the hobnobs before the price went up.
Like the good citizen of the community that she is. Maybe we need a new version of the national anthem at 128 BPM. You'd be surprised. That is the science. 128 BPM.
So just talk us through this. I find this is like voodoo magic to me. I'm not.
No, it's
not.
Oh my
God, we only got 30 seconds. Go on very quickly. Oh no! Before you do that, are you available Wednesday? Or are you busy Wednesday?
I suppose I could wrestle myself out of my festering pit to come and do some more Wednesday. I could read up on this BPM stuff as well, so I know what I'm talking about more.
I'll be honest with you. I have thoroughly. It's so much better than Phil Dave, or as I like to call him, Phil Who. Phil. Yesterday's
here
man.
today,
Yeah.
gone tomorrow. At this stage.
Here today. One day we'll tell you the full story of that. Neil Long, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you
Loved it. Thank
so
you,
much.
Russ.
It's just like the years go rolling by. I hope everyone's enjoyed it. We'll be back 12 o'clock on Wednesday. Until then, try and stay out of trouble. Bye, gang.